like to call the committee hall meeting for Monday, August 3rd, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gavino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis.
Here.
Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar.
Here.
All right, thank you. Any comments? Seeing none. Trustee comments?
Do you want to put the picture on?
Seeing none. Item 1 under discussion. Steve?
Thank you. Item number 1 under discussion is a concept plan by developer 4-Star, who is looking to develop the Burger Farm property. The Burger Farm property is just west of Deer Path Road and just along the southern edge of Tanner Road to the south of Tanner Trail subdivision. Tonight, Nathan is going to walk us through the concept plan and how this is unique, not only for the sense that it's been in our future planning area and our comp plan for many years, but also it ties into a longstanding intergovernmental agreement with Kane County Transportation Department for realigning Tanner Road. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of history, and then 4-Star will come up and tell you a little bit about their company and their product. So these 3 sites here, the Burger Farm, the Tanner Farm, and the site that has the proposed solar farm. Originally, all of those areas were shown on the Village Comprehensive Plan as future residential. We now know that the Tanner Farm to the south is pursuing a farmland preservation easement with the county. And of course, the solar farm, Catfish Solar, is going on the property to the west. And the reason that's important is because that means that this farm, the Burger Farm, is the last developable piece. Back in 2004, the village entered into an IGA with Kane County, which is amended in 06 and 08, that showed the realignment of Tanner Road to line up with Oak Street. Back when those agreements were signed, it was assumed that the development of all of these properties would just pay for it. But now there's a lot less property being developed, and infrastructure costs, today compared to 2004 are astronomically higher. So having the burden of that entire road project on one parcel is not really realistic anymore. There's way too much cost for any developer to bear. So those agreements were signed, 20 years ago. Looking at our comprehensive plan, so this was updated, originally done in 2015 and then updated in 2023. It actually didn't show the realignment in there. It just had the streets connecting kind of straight through. But what it called for was a single family to the west, and this darker shade here closer to Deer Path was called for either townhomes or multifamily. So basically more dense closer to Orchard, less dense as you head west. So those are kind of the historical documents that were governing this. Here is the proposed concept plan. It has the road realignment shown here. It's showing townhomes in this area, so that would be east of Bennett, between Bennett and Deer Path, and single family homes here. Again, I'll let 4-Star kind of get into the details of that. We have approached Kane County, the Kane County Highway Department, to talk about that IGA and the realignment of the road. They also realize that it's probably, as written from 20 years ago, probably not realistic today, but they still want the realignment to happen. So this plan kind of lays out a phasing schedule, and I'll just walk through it briefly. So the developer would dedicate the right-of-way, so they'll give the land for that whole realignment. In phase 1, the developer would build the blue section here, but it would just be built as a village street. So this would be a 4-way stop at Deer Path and Oak, and the street would stop there. The county would then pursue grant funding to finish the realignment. So phase 2 would be the county building that portion and building a roundabout here at Deer Path and Oak. At that point, the county would take over the whole new alignment and the village would get the old Tanner and the existing portion of Deer Path. Then the final phase would be to remove that section of Tanner, of the old Tanner. So this section of Old Tanner would just become a regular village street. So the county is, we've had some meetings with them. They are agreeable in concept to doing it that phasing way. We would obviously have to work with Kevin to rewrite all those IGAs and memorialize all of this. And so there's plenty of details to work out there, but just to kind of show you, where we're going with the road improvements. And with that, I will invite Forestar to come up to talk a little bit about their product.
Before the presentation, just as a reminder, this property is unincorporated, which means that any of this would have to be done by approval through an annexation agreement to the village.
Good evening. My name is Keith Demchinsky, Development and Investment Director with Forestar. Thank you for the opportunity to present our concept plan tonight. I've been working with Mr. Darga and staff for roughly about 12 months now. I appreciate their patience and working with us and on multiple plans, working with KDOT as well. Forestar is a national land developer. We are not a home builder, but we develop land across the country. We've developed about 20 communities and delivered about 2,000 lots to various builders in the market. We're responsible for land acquisition, entitlements, development, HOA establishment, and delivering those lots to local and national builders. This site, Tanner Road, is roughly about 100 acres just west of Orchard Road. As Mr. Darga mentioned, south side of Tanner. The site is great proximity to I-88. And we believe in a location that's going to be attractive to many home buyers in the future. As for a few of the site attributes, as I mentioned, the site's about almost 100 acres. There is a 100-year floodplain and wetland at the southwest corner of the property. That area won't be developed, so that'll remain preserved over time, and will serve as an amenity for the community. The site is currently unincorporated, as mentioned. Will need to be annexed into the village. Current use is agriculture, and as mentioned earlier, there will be a realignment of Tanner Road, which will connect to the intersection of Oak and Deer Path. As shown in the previous slide, it's a little bit easier to see in the previous slide there. If we can scroll back one, the northeast corner of the property, the 3 acres there, will be retained by the current seller. His family has asked to retain the homestead there, so that'll be about 3 acres that they'll retain at the northeast corner of the property. Our goal for this community was to create a multi-generational community where someone could come in, first-time home buyer, could come in, buy a townhome or a cottage home, live there for however long, and then move up to another home within the community. So the goal was to create a multi-generational community. We're proposing roughly 340 townhomes and single-family lots in total. And that'll be comprised of rear-loaded and front-loaded townhomes, in addition to a 42-foot single-family cottage lot, and also a 65-foot single-family lot. And as mentioned earlier, the density transitions from higher density on the east side to lower density as you move west. the townhomes are located, Tanner Road bisects the property into townhomes located in the northeast corner, as mentioned earlier, with access off of Bennett Drive, which is extended to the south. So being access points into the townhomes off of Bennett, as well as an access point to the north off of Tanner Road, and then 2 access points off of the Tanner Road realignment, as well as the northwest corner there across from the existing drive to the north. The realigned Tanner Road will improve traffic flow, particularly during rush hour. The roundabout that's being proposed by the county will allow traffic to continue to move through that intersection, and then the overall congestion at Deer Path and Tanner Road will be significantly improved. This currently shows 120-foot right of way. The road cross section will be very similar to what exists today. It's a 3-lane county road cross section with I'm not sure yet if there will be sidewalks along Tanner Road or not. That is still to be determined. But the overall width of the road will only be 36 feet. So while it looks like a very large right of way, the actual road will only be 36 feet in width. So 3 lanes, two lanes of through traffic, and then a left turn lane. Sure. Correct. We develop, we will acquire the land, we'll develop it and put in all of the horizontal infrastructure. So we mass grade, we install the utilities, we develop the roads, install the roads and pavement, and then we sell finished lots to home builders.
So, Steve, this is a question for you. Have we had any developer interest in this? Because from, having a middleman in this, I mean, potentially it's going to add to the cost of the housing. And then I'm looking at this concept. We've got the flood zone, we've got this road going through it, and it's 100 acres, but it looks like about maybe 20% of it's non-buildable. So that's going to be a very high density. And when I'm looking at a lot size of 42 by 91, I mean, the biggest single family you could put on that would be 2,000 square feet. So to me, this just looks like this is going to be a very spliced and diced. And now we've got that 3 acres in the corner, and it's, from a uniformity perspective, I don't see how this is going to be a good fit.
So this is, like you said, it is a higher density than some subdivisions for sure. Given the Tanner Road realignment, we have not had a lot of developer interest in this over the years, probably because part of it has to do with the fact that they have to realign that roadway and develop that space. Because that's what the IGA requires for Kane County. Kane County has both access points. They own Tanner Road and they own Deer Path right there. It's their road, so they have to be the ones to acknowledge access to their roads.
What I'm saying is, even need to connect them. Just leave it the way it is.
You could, but like I said, they have an IGA with the village already. The village board approved years ago an IGA to realign Tanner with King County. It's their road, Deer Path and Tanner. They're the ones who want it realigned. So if we didn't realign it, they technically don't have to give access to the subdivision.
I guess my concern is going to be, we haven't had a developer interested. Now you're going to go and do all this work. And what if we still don't have anybody?
Yes.
Are we going to have all this, this half-built development for 20 years?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we do not build any vertical infrastructure. We do have a builder that's interested, a builder that we've done a lot of work with in the Chicagoland area, DR Horton. They also, and I'll show you, I do have some elevations of what they're proposing at this community in this presentation here. But DR Horton they were the developer and builder at Lincoln Valley here in North Aurora. But we've done a number of projects throughout the Chicagoland area, throughout the country with DR Horton. They are our #1 customer. So they have a lot of interest in building here. And we have a model that works with us as a developer, and with them as the home builder.
I think just let me chime in here. TR Horton's a good builder. They've been around many years. I don't know what else we're going to put there. I think that it actually fits really well there. And I do believe all those homes will sell quickly. I don't think they'll be hanging around for years. I bet that project sells within 5 years. It'll be sold out. That's my guess.
I don't doubt they're going to sell. I just don't know if this type of a development's a good fit for such a small parcel.
What else would you put there?
Well, we could have a conversation about density and number of units.
Yeah, but I would take it you did your survey. You know what your companies, why they would build these particular size homes and condos, right? Because you know that they would sell.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've done market research. We know this market very well. And what we're proposing here tonight is product that will sell in North Aurora, throughout the southwest west suburbs of Chicago.
Well, what's the proposed price point on these?
It'll range anywhere from, and again, I'm not the builder, so I don't set the prices, but based on what the market is doing here in North Aurora, in this general area of Chicagoland, townhomes will start in the mid 300s. Single families will probably be in the upper 400s to low 500s. So it's attainable prices, right, for buyers that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to live in a home today. And so we're seeing Chicagoland area in Illinois is one of the hottest markets in the country right now, because there's so much demand for housing. Frankly, there is not enough housing in the market today. So there's a lot of pent up demand. And we believe what we're proposing here will do very well in North Aurora.
What if we let them go through your own process here, and then we'll see the end result?
Absolutely.
So, yep,
yeah,
thank
happy
you.
to answer any
Yeah.
other questions that you have. As I mentioned, just a few elevations. We are proposing a front-loaded townhome product, similar to the photo on top there. That's the Buckingham series, as well as a rear-loaded townhome product on the bottom there. The front-loaded product is all 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, and those range in size from 1,600 to roughly 1,800 square feet. The rear-loaded product has a walk-up entrance with a 2-car garage in the rear. Most of these will be 3-bedroom. There may be some that are 2-bedroom with a den. All 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, like I mentioned, ranging in size, roughly similar in size, about 1,600 to a little over 1,800 square feet. So those are the two townhomes that are proposed in the northeast portion of the property. And then the next slide there, this is the narrower of the two single family options. So this is the 42-foot wide lot. These range in size from about 1,600 to 2,000 square feet. Most of these will be 4-bedroom. There may be some that are 3-bedroom, but a majority of these will be 4-bedroom. The most popular size is the 1,953 square foot home. And these will all be 2.5 bath and 2-car garage as well. And then the larger of the single family lots that's being proposed comes in a 3-garage configuration, as well as a 2-garage configuration. And these range in size from 1,800 to 2,800 square feet. Majority of these will also be 4-bedroom. There are some that are offered at 3-bedroom with a den, also 2.5 bath and 2-car garage, 2 to 3-car garage for this particular elevation. All the elevations that I showed you, particularly the single family, have a few different floor plans. Each floor plan has multiple elevation options. So from an anti-monotony standpoint, there'll be multiple elevations being offered, multiple color options for the single family. The townhome will likely come in two color options, as well as material options for both of those as well. Again, to establish anti-monotony and create some diversity throughout the community. One thing I didn't mention earlier, we also have parks, trails proposed throughout the community, open space. So be number of options for recreation, walkability throughout the community via trails and sidewalks, as well as some respite areas that'll be proposed for seating and just some recreation that isn't necessarily active recreation. Monumentation, which is not shown on the plan yet, will also be included at the primary entries of the community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I know we went through that relatively quick, but happy to answer any additional questions.
Mayor, before we start, can I just reiterate one more time that this is an annexation agreement potentially? So tonight's a concept review. This is where the developer wants to hear the feedback and they want to know if this is viable to move forward or not. So, now's the time to give good feedback. But the other thing is that it's an annexation agreement, which means it's not subject currently to any of our specific zoning districts, meaning everything is negotiable in the annexation agreement as far as different things like anti-monotony clauses and things like that. Those are things that you might want to consider.
I guess I'll start. I'm very much in favor of it. I like the idea that these are a bit smaller. I think that we have a need here in the village for, not to say that mid 300s is, certainly that still seems very expensive, but compared to some of the other offerings, where they're starting in the mid 600s and 700s, this seems, like you said, more attainable for many more people. And I think there's a need in the village for that. And conceptually, the way that it's laid out here, I think it looks very attractive.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions. Sidewalk from Bennett to Deer Path on your north end there. Is there going to be a sidewalk? Is that considered in that group?
On the north side of
Where it says 30-foot landscape buffer. Yeah, right there up to there. Because there's been a request from many people north side of Tanner. The kids get the Taco Bell and Starbucks and all whatever's up there, or residents want to go to Hardware and Fortunato, like have a sidewalk on the south side of the street there. Was there anything considered on that?
There hasn't been yet. That is, given that's existing, and that right of way is jurisdictionally KDOT's right of way. We have not proposed a sidewalk along there. It's not to say that we couldn't install a path or a trail on the north side there. So it's something we could consider.
Yeah, I know it's important to. I get every so often people. I see them in the gully walking from actually on the north side, but if this happens on the south side, we can get some kind of sidewalk to get them up the Deer Path. The other question is a 3-acre homestead up there. Does that get annexed in, Nathan, with the whole process?
So we have told them that the village will require the whole property to be annexed. We would zone that either estate or rural or something, but it's not our desire to leave a hole in the donut. So.
The other thought is, I kind of agree with Trustee Salazar. The 42 feet wide is narrow. Steve, do we have any where are we at with the lot sizes there?
We don't have a minimum lot size requirement. So at this point, I believe that is actually smaller than Lincoln Valley's lots. Is that correct?
So the lot sizes, the smaller lot sizes would be comparable to Lincoln Valley. About 5,000, 6,000 square feet.
That's all I got right now. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm absolutely in favor of a development just like this. I'm still a little confused on how the builder is or is not committed to the project. So, as long as the builder is on board to build immediately, I don't know how much control that we would have over that, but I just don't want to see you guys do your portion, and then the land is developed or undeveloped for 10, 15, 20 years. We've had that before here in the village. So as long as a builder is 100% committed.
Yeah, we would not begin development unless we had a builder on board and we're under contract with the builder, because that would be a significant risk to us as well. Yeah, we typically wouldn't have a builder under contract until roughly 5 to 6 months prior to closing on the property. We're probably 12 months out based on what we're projecting today if this were to move forward. Roughly 12 months out before we close on the land.
Well, what I don't understand is if this is such a and there is so much opportunity, why aren't developers already biting on it? And I just, when I hear we've got a middleman involved in it, to me, it's the consumer is going to be paying that price. There's going to be a premium on there. And the more I'm looking at this configuration, I just have a problem with the density. I just think that that's just too many doors and such a small parcel.
Yeah, so the model that we're referencing, where a developer develops and a builder builds finished lots, that's actually how a majority of communities are built today. After the recession, a lot of builders did not want to put a lot of their capital into land. They want to spend their money, be able to spend their money on vertical infrastructure, and so developers hold the land or develop it for them and then sell finished lots. A lot of times you'll have a builder that will take it through the entitlement process and then assign it to a developer at the closing table. Developer will take it from there, develop, and then sell those same lots that they entitled back to the builder. So it's a very common practice in the home building industry. That's how majority of
Steve, have we had one of these previously in the village? I don't recall ever having this sort of
I believe you guys bought Lincoln Valley, didn't?
Yeah.
So they were the purchaser of Lincoln Valley, who then sold the lots to D.R. Horton.
I think it fits in great there. It's separated off from some of the other lots. It's kind of in an area where it makes sense. And I think it absolutely is the right spot for this plan. So I'm 100% for it.
Plus the price point, I mean, if we can get younger folks don't have a chance buying a house today. So it's like, if there's anything that we can do to get the price down to get them in a house, and besides paying rent, I mean, that's something that we should consider. So.
Absolutely. And just the comment regarding the 42-foot lot, the cottage home, we have the same product that's being built today at one of D.R. Horton's signature communities, another one that we're developing and selling lots to D.R. Horton in Oswego. It's called Sonoma Trails. And that cottage home product, that 42-foot product is selling very, very quickly. It's the best selling home out there at Sonoma Trails.
How far apart are the homes on those 42 wide lots?
It depends on the setback requirements, but it's 30-foot product, so that would be 12 feet between homes.
I'm all for it. I would like to see sidewalks, though, along Tanner and up along the old Tanner as well as the new Tanner Trail. I think that would enhance the whole thing, too. But it's not a deal breaker. I think it's generally a good idea to do. So
Appreciate it.
I would like to see sidewalks, though, myself. So.
Yeah, I mean, the 42-foot thing, yeah, it's not ideal, but I think the issue that any home builder here has here is that road. Is the road having to get added right down the middle of the property? So I understand that you got to try to cram some more homes in there. I mean, ideally, if we can get that up a little bit, maybe you lose a couple homes, but maybe 50-foot minimum or something like that. But that's details.
When we did Lincoln Valley, we had a discussion on density, and we went back a couple times, and they did lower the density. And I would like to have something that is going to conform to the rest of the village, and to say, that's going to be in the neighborhood with those houses crammed together on those small lots. That doesn't really go with the aesthetics. I understand the price point. I understand we need the housing, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, can we make this look a little bit more standard to what we have in the rest of the village? When I think of a house 12 feet away, I mean, that's the length of that table. That's not really what you see throughout the village. So I would like to see the density down and the lot sizes, maybe a little bit more in conformity to what we have.
Is it 12 feet, 6 each way, or is it 12 feet to the center and 12 feet to the other house, Ethan?
It's very similar to if you go through the single family section of Lincoln Valley and see, those homes are fairly close together. Using the Lincoln Valley example, there the HOA takes care of a lot of the maintenance. I don't know if you've gotten that far on this plan about what HOA would, obviously the townhomes, right? The HOA would do all the maintenance, but on the single family, would the HOA or would it be individuals?
No, yeah, you're correct in that for the townhomes, all the common area and landscape will be maintained by the HOA. For the single family, though, those will all be maintained by the individual residents.
To me, 6 feet is pretty tight, but I mean, it's not 1990s anymore either. So things are changing, and
It's 12 feet total, though.
yeah, 12, right, 6 and 6.
Like
yeah,
I think it's probably 10 or 12 feet between my house and one.
yeah, right. 10, I think 10 feet was our setback, right? I mean, right. Tanner Trails, I think it's at least 10 feet.
A lot of the standard lots are 10 feet
Yeah.
on both sides, so 20 feet.
Right.
total.
Right. So, I mean, to say it doesn't fit, I mean, things are different today than they were years ago. And a lot of people don't want to cut a quarter acre every week. So it's like, I think it's up to the buyer if they like, narrow lots and whatever they do. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up where everybody wanted the half an acre lot and everybody wanted the big yard, but that's not the case anymore. So,
The north side of my house, which you've been to, Mayor, right? I doubt there might be 15 feet. I doubt that very much on the north side. On the other side, there's more room. It's off center, but I think it's plenty. And I agree with you. Young people today are not that interested, at least not initially, in the yard work and all the lawn to take care of. And I think, again, the village has a need for these, and I use lower in a qualitative sense there, right? Lower price point home
Yeah.
that at least is more attainable.
I think they rather have the house than the land.
That's right.
They rather have a
That's right.
3-bedroom house.
So, and because we are bound by an agreement that was made many years ago, that's why the street has to go through the middle and the way it has to be. So that's, otherwise it would have been developed many years ago. And this is why I'm in favor of this now. I think it's a good development and I don't mind a little bit higher density and narrower lots.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole thing is that way. There's a good mix in there. There's a mix of wider lots, there's a mix of smaller lots. So again, is it ideal? No, but I think this is at least a good starting point,
I would say with all the added density and everything, having those sidewalks is super important. We want people to be out and active, and that would be a deal breaker for me. It should have sidewalks all the way around it. It only helps all the businesses over there too. It allows people to walk to dinner and have a few drinks and keep them off the road too. So.
Yeah, and for the Tanner Road realignment, again, that's the county's cross section, so we won't be able to determine or have much say in whether sidewalks are being proposed along Tanner Road. That's whatever the county's cross section is. So they'll be responsible for defining the roadway design for Tanner Road.
Well, I thought it's going to become the village road. Am I wrong in that?
Sorry. So in the first phase, that becomes a village road, but then eventually when it all gets completed, it gets turned over to the county and we get the old portion of Cameron.
That's the old portion I'm talking about. There's from Bennett to.
So it may have to wait till phase 3
but that needs to be in there, in my opinion, because people complain all the time about having their kids getting up to Starbucks and Taco Bell. And
I think that's something that we can easily bring up with King County and say, hey, if we're moving forward with this and we're phasing it, the board feels strongly about getting a sidewalk in on what's currently your right of way, but by this agreement, it will become ours anyways.
And we need to have that agreement built in with the current homeowner that's going to stay on that corner.
Anybody else? So I guess what do you need from us, Nathan? The next step, they can move ahead and
Yeah, so next step is some fun negotiations with King County DOT and our attorney, and we'll dig into those agreements and start drafting things up.
all right. Thank you. Do you have anything else or I didn't want to
I don't.
stop you in the middle of it, but
No, I don't. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Steve, item 2, discussion of the Route 31 TIF.
All right, the last item on the agenda tonight is regarding our Route 31 TIF closeout. The Route 31 TIF closeout, the TIF is reached its 23-year end of life. TIFs in Illinois are 23 years long. Typically, what you have to do is you have to go through a closeout process to officially end the TIF. We thought it'd be nice to do a little bit of a presentation and just talk about the history of the 31 TIF, where it's at today, where it was when it started, and the next steps for that we'll tell you at the end. There's some financial considerations that we need to have clarified. So with that being said, so a little bit of background, as I said earlier, it's 23 years. So it's based on the year that assessments take place. So it started in 2002, 2026 is the year that we're actually collecting for 2025. So that's your 23rd year. So we're in the process of closing it out. We have amended it from time to time in 05 and 09. A lot of what you're going to see over time was that the Route 31 TIF was affected dramatically. The EAVs that were supposed to go up in a TIF were dramatically affected by the recession that happened in the early 2000s. As the board might recall, there was 3 different TIF districts at one time. We had the Route 31 TIF, we had the Sperry property TIF, which was the district just to the north of Village Hall, and then we had a North Lincoln Way TIF north of Oak Street on 31. A few years ago, back in 2021, we took those underperforming districts and we created one new district and left a portion of the original Route 31 TIF district in place to naturally dissolve off the books, which is where we're at today. And that is mostly parcels south of I-88. So just to show you the picture right there on the left, that is the Route 31 Lincoln Way TIF. It's kind of hard because it looks, when you're looking at the map, it looks like you're looking at the same area, but you're not. On the left side, it's basically that green area south of 88 along 31. And on the right, the United TIF that was created in 2001, that's actually north of 88. But also, as I mentioned earlier, that Sperry property and that North Lincoln Way TIF, those are the properties you see that are north of the 56 bridge. So right there, that was created into one TIF district, which is doing very well. So the timing was good for creating that new district, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So here's something that happens in all standard TIFs is towns create what they call a TIF facade grant program. I know the board brought up in strategic planning, I believe it was mentioned if we can maybe raise the limits of our TIF facade program, and that is definitely something we're going to look into. But the thing about it too is the requests that we get for the TIF facade grant program are not usually that high. So the current amount of 50% up to 20,000 is pretty legitimate as far as the types of requests you get. When you're talking about parking lots or painting or doing facades, you don't see these massive, hundreds of thousands of dollars in improvements at once. But what we've talked about doing is in our economic incentive policy is kind of creating a program that is more beyond just TIF facade. It's kind of funny. We don't have a program created, but should a business ever come to us with any request for the TIF funding, we would absolutely still listen to it, because even though it may not be included in the TIF facade grant, doesn't mean it's not a viable project that could be ultimately TIF funded. So, I mean, we have this program in place. It's nice that there's guidelines, but I want to make sure the board knows we don't turn anyone away who comes to us with at least a conversation first of what they want to do. And that being said, over the time of the 23 years, we spent about $415,000 in TIF funds to award to properties. As you see, Mike put in a picture of Pedal and Spoke, which used our program to update their facade. The real, if you were to say the real active nature of our expenditures in the TIF has been property assemblage. When the Route 31 TIF was first created, it was created with the idea that one day we would start building up Route 31 and future economic development. When the recession happened, a lot of the EAVs tanked on some of those properties. So we were actually not getting any increment whatsoever on, I think at one point, about half the properties that were in the TIF district. So you were getting minimal growth on some EAV, and then you were actually zeroed out, meaning we weren't collecting any additional growth on any of the other properties. So at the time, there was kind of a stall out in the ability to fund projects, right? The ability to buy properties for future projects, the ability to put infrastructure in. So if you see in this timeline, these are property assemblages that we've used TIF funding for. Now, some of these at the bottom, obviously, as you see in the 2025 and 26s, you're saying, okay, Steve, but the Route 31 TIF stopped in 2021. We created the United TIF. But we have, through our budget process, we have ported money from that TIF district and use that TIF district money in our TIF district, United TIF, to buy some of these properties. So once they're connected, you can port money from one to the other. We have used that as the EAVs have bounced back to basically buy properties that the village probably intended to buy 20 years ago. And now we're seeing a real uptick in our ability to fund these projects. If you see here, you'll see 24 was our first one that was MOCA. But if you go after the 21 United TIF, we have several in the Block 1 area, including every property now in that Block 1 area is under village control. Here's some significant projects that we did. This was early when I was in my early days here at the village. We did Smoke Tree Plaza. This is basically what a TIF is made for, redevelopment of economic development and infrastructure. For anybody who ever remembered Smoke Tree Plaza, and 1.8 million by today's numbers, this could have easily been over $3 million by today's numbers. Smoke Tree Plaza was a private road, but it was in the TIF district. The village took it over because nobody was responsible to maintain the road. And I remember when Mike Locken, I started when Mike Locken was superintendent of streets, he took me out there. There were potholes the size of cars that you had to dodge because your car would literally fit within the entire ripped up section of street. And we ended up doing a 3-phased approach, and with TIF funds, we rebuilt that road, and it's much smoother today, which has allowed us to try to revitalize that area a little bit. Mike will probably tell you, and most of us would probably agree, this is one of our biggest success stories, so to speak. Buying properties is a huge deal. This one was taking a dilapidated gas station that was vacated for years, remediating it, and then eventually leveling it out and making it pad ready for development, in which we turned over with the TIF incentive, and Mocha Coffee is what we have today, and that is a very viable business. Another one that we are currently working on right now, ironically, coincidentally, we're trying to fix the lights on the silo, but this was a TIF funded project. But for the TIF, one could argue, would the village have spent that money to take a historical landmark, restore it, and then use it as a future landmark for the development around it, potentially with the park area. As of right now, that stuff is still on the books as far as the parks go. Now that we have that funding source that's driving pretty good returns every year in our fund, we're starting to do the things in Riverfront Park, or at least plan for them, and the silo area that was intended 10 to 15 years ago. Before I turn this over to Jason, so we're going to talk about the last remaining financial aspects of it. This is a nice little snapshot of the increment. So when it was created as a TIF district, you could see right there the total EAV of all the properties was about $12.5 million. It only, in that 18-year period, it only gained $9 million worth of EAV. As I said, it had basically stagnated for a long period of time. When we created the United TIF, we took some properties out, which is why you see it drop from 21 million in EAV to 12 million. That's the remaining EAV south of 88. Because of the development that we had Ship Bob, which is part of corporate 88. It's the two warehouses south of 88 that were built by the old bowling alley, which is now a storage facility by the hotels over there. That, along with some of the other developments south of 88, in 4 years, the EAV has increased by $19 million and is actually significantly higher than when we actually took a bunch of properties out of that TIF district. So it actually gained about $10 million despite losing half of the district to United TIF. So what's nice about that is a large amount of money that will end up back on the books for the taxing bodies such as the park district, the fire department, and the library, and so to speak. Those are, they're going to see that $19 million jump over the last few years. Also, if you notice, you could see the United TIF has jumped dramatically in 4 years from 18.5 to $50.5 million worth of EAV, which is, like I said, and the EAV is growing very well in the United TIF. And that's before we've redeveloped any of these lots that we've purchased. So that will all become new AV at some point. With that, Jason's going to walk us through some of the finances.
All right, so we're just going to give a quick breakdown of the Route 31 TIF. On the left here, so our last fiscal year 2026 that we're just wrapping up now, June 1st, 25, we had about $482,000 in that TIF. Brought in $813,000 of tax revenue. The only expenditure in there, that $1,050, was for the audit, the required audit that we had to do, the TIF report. We had no requests for any of the facade grants that were mentioned earlier, so really nothing going on in that TIF. We did transfer money, the $1.25 million from the Route 31 TIF over to United TIF. And with that money, we used that money to buy 28 Monroe, 36 Monroe, and 12 North Lincoln Way. I mean, those properties were more than the $1.2 million we ported over, but it really helped us be able to buy those properties in that year. So then when we start June 1st, 2026, this current fiscal year in, we've got about $40,000 within that TIF. We expect to see about $1.6 million coming in property tax revenue. As Steve mentioned, it's really that new development. Those new warehouses have really shot up the EAV and the tax money in this last year of the TIF. We're expecting to see very minimal expenditures within the TIF. We have some money in there just in case anybody put forth a facade grant, but we don't really expect anything since there really hasn't been one for the past handful of years. So it'll likely just be our annual audit report. And then the piece that we're going to talk about in a minute here is that $1,695,705 transfer. Currently within the budget that we had passed for this current year, we were taking all the money that remains within the Route 31 TIF and moving it over to the United TIF, essentially leaving a zero balance in that TIF when the year ends. Some of the properties that we've already currently bought is 608 North Lincoln Way, 10 North Lincoln Way, and 105 North Lincoln Way. That's a little over $500,000 of money that we've already spent. So if we were to port some of the money over, it would help cover that. If not, it would just come from current year revenues with the United TIF or reserve balance. But as out there, we do have future properties that we are looking at. We're actually working with people to try to acquire more. So if that money did come over, it'd help us purchase more property within the United TIF. All right, so one of the things that we want to try to get out of tonight is, as I mentioned, that $1,695,000 transfer, reserve transfer from Route 31 to the United TIF. As I mentioned in the budget, we do have it budgeted to basically zero out the Route 31 TIF and go into the United TIF. But we do have a decision to make whether or not we can declare any of that portion as a surplus. So basically what we'd say is we could say we're not going to port any of that money over, transfer any of that money over. We actually want to give money back to the various taxing districts. So the board would say X amount of dollars, whatever it is. It could be all of it, none of it, some of it. And we'd give that back, write a check to the county. The county would disperse that back, the school district, the park district, or however, they do that. So as I mentioned, we have it in the budget that we're going to transfer the whole thing. But if the board were interested in giving back any of the money, we have that option. But as you said, we're targeting many properties within the United TIF that we still want to acquire. So any money we do keep within those TIFs will help us buy properties as they become available or get aggressive with really going after properties that are in the area we want to. For the various taxing bodies, the increment within the Route 31 TIF is about $23 million. So they're going to be able to capture that when they do their levy this year, the 26 levy, which will be collectible in the 27 year. They're going to see about a $23 million increase in increment. So I don't have the calculations for all the various, but like how that $23 million for the village's levy, that could be an extra $70,000 that we'd be able to collect. So I'd imagine for the school places like the school district that have way more EAV, and a pretty big windfall for them to get back that $23 million in the Route 31 TIF that's going to go away. So they will be getting something regarding EAV increases for next year. So like I mentioned, the next steps is determining if we're just going to keep the entire Route 31 TIF balance and move that over to United TIF for property taxes or for property purchases. The one thing we do is hold a special joint review board meeting. So my goal is probably notice that tomorrow or maybe Wednesday, try to have something for a meeting next week. So we'll have to let all the taxing bodies know what our plans are to end the Route 31 TIF and transfer the money over, then come back on the April 17th or the August 17th meeting and pass the final ordinance that says the TIF is over with. We'll file that with the county. And then by the end of the year, the TIF goes away and no more money is collected for it.
I think we should keep the money here and invest it in our village. We've got several properties we want to buy. You know, we've had our eye on that old Everest College. So, and especially with the increase in EAV, I mean, it makes perfect sense. We're not hurting anybody by using it on our residents.
Agree.
Agreed.
Agree also.
I agree too.
Anything else, Jason, you need from us?
Nope, that's it.
Or Steve?
No, that's it.
Includes item 2, no exec session. I'm wishing adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.